All right. In that case, I will say welcome to the first virtual business meeting for IASSIST. I'm sure we would all rather be in Gothenburg trying to eat and listen to speeches at the same time, but there we go. So we'll do the best that we can, and we'll take it from there. So the first rule we're going to start with is right now everybody's on mute. We have a large number of participants, and I'm very, very happy about that. And what I really want to do is make sure that we have the opportunity to have as much engagement as possible. But if you've ever tried to do a virtual happy hour with more than 3 people, you know that it's impossible for people to just chime in spontaneously. So I'm going to ask everybody to use the chat window, and we will save and share all of the comments in the chat. If there's things that really do need to be addressed verbally, then we can certainly unmute folks. And you are allowed to unmute yourself, but if we can't actually get stuff going and we start running out of time, I'm going to use my host prerogative to put you all back on mute. I'm really going to try and make this efficient as we can. We want to make sure that people who have the opportunity to ask questions, and I'm monitoring the chat window for that. If anything we don't get a chance to address here, we will make sure to address after the meeting. As people are speaking, we're going to request that you turn your camera on for your part of the presentation. I'm not going to enforce that, but because I understand there are some people for whom this is an ungodly hour, whether it be early or late, and so therefore lack of barber shop facilities notwithstanding, we want to make sure that people are comfortable doing that. Attendees who are not speaking, you can have your camera on or off during the course of the meeting as it suits you. We are going to try and do something that resembles a group photo, which is going to be a series of screen captures via little Zoom boxes. So towards the end, I know, we're going to give it a shot. We'll see. And towards the end, I'll ask everybody who wants to participate to turn their cameras on. This session is being recorded, and we will post a link to it somewhere on the website when I figure out what it looks like to do that. So moving right along, agenda. The first thing we need to do, and part of the reason that this business meeting is important, is that we have some official business that we need to conduct as an association. And so one of the things we need to do is approve the minutes from our last business meeting as an association, which took place in Sydney. And I'm going to try and put that up right now. And I'm going to ask our fantastic secretary to conduct the official Robert's Rules of Order approval process for something that has 90 participants in I don't know how many time zones.
So we don't know that this is going to be too official, but we're going to ask if there are any objections to the minutes. There were no comments sent to me about the minutes. Are there any objections?
All right, we already have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from last year's meeting. So therefore, if we have no objections, we will take the minutes as approved.
And if you want to say aye, you can say it, scream it, that's fine.
Go for it. There should be little like being able to do thumbs up things, or if you want to type it in, there we go. Excellent. See, not completely impossible. Again, not the most efficient, maybe not the most official, but these are weird times. We're going to do what we can do. A lot of the reports that we would do during this lunch, if we were together from various committees, we've asked people to submit in writing, and they're all being shared on a Google Drive. The link is here. It was also sent out to the list, and I believe is in the chat window as well, where this document lives. So if you're interested in seeing any of the written reports from our professional development, membership, all of those committees, they will all be available there. We're going to have a couple of officers actually do some live reports. We're going to try and do this group photo, and then because we don't have the opportunity to interrupt people's lunch, we're going to try and do something fun. I originally suggested karaoke, that got shot down. So Linda's going to run an IASSIST trivia session before we call this meeting adjourned. So I'll start out with, are there any questions? I'm looking for the chat or people to raise their hand. Excellent. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is say, give the president's report, which will be very brief because this was a weird year. It was strange enough walking into the president's role after not having been on the administrative committee for a few years, but walking into this was very strange. So we had major turnover on the exec. That I think we had 4 out of the 5 positions were new people, and we didn't have the opportunity to do a lot of the handover work in Sydney. So one of the first things that was weird about my first year as president is that we actually had a face-to-face meeting at Rutgers, hosted by our former secretary, Ryan Womack, to be able to do some of the necessary handover. There were legal things like we had to get signatures for bank accounts and other things, as well as trying to do some strategic planning to say, what do we want IASSIST to focus on over the course of the next year? We haven't had a strategic plan in place for a little while. We got that started. And then the whole world turned upside down, and anything that we thought we might be able to do strategically went right out the window. And immediately we changed the focus to what to do about the conference and all of the tactical things that needed to happen. And so in March, in February and March, we had lots of conversations about what is the world going to look like, and is this really going to be a big deal, and what are the rules in Sweden going to be? And eventually what we figured out, which in hindsight seems to be obvious, but it was very, very difficult to decide when we needed to say it's just not safe for us to be able to hold the conference. It's just not feasible. And so a whole lot of people worked really hard behind the scenes to actually do another thing that we've never done before, which was move it by a year. And so thank you very much to the program committee, the local arrangements committee, the admin committee, and everybody who helped make it possible for us to say, yes, we are still going to be in Sweden. We're just not going to be in Sweden in 2020. We're going to be there in 2021. And we'll get more updates on that later. So that means that anything that we talked about in August doesn't apply anymore. And one of the things that we're going to be doing as an association is starting to have the strategy conversations about what does IASSIST and doing data look like on the other side of the pandemic. Anything that we might have thought would be helpful before, maybe that will be helpful in the future, but I have a sneaking suspicion that 6 or 8 months from now, a lot of our conversations are going to look very different. And so we're going to be looking to engage people to have an understanding of what does it mean to do what we do when what we do is now a very different place. For those of us in academic institutions, the budgetary pressures are frightening. The same is true, I would imagine, in government or nonprofit organizations, archives. What does it mean to do research preservation, data preservation, when all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of research that is going straight from, it seems, from desktop to preprint. I heard laments all over the place on a podcast I was listening to this morning about how peer review has gone straight out the window because everybody's trying to rush some of these things out. Well, what does that mean for our professions? We still have operational issues that we need to tackle. As you're going to hear, we've got elections. We've had a bunch of webinars, and we're increasing our offerings in that area. We've got interest groups that are continuing, and potential for new interest groups to start up, especially when new topics need to be broached. We're still without a European regional treasurer. While it was true that this role has been vacant for a while, the previous holder, Stuart McDonald, unfortunately passed away in an untimely fashion, not COVID related, but still nonetheless just as tragic. And so even having that expertise, while not officially in that capacity, a lot of knowledge and camaraderie went with him. And so while we can't ever replace Stuart, we do need to have somebody in that role. And that's something that we need to work a little harder to identify how to do that. But we're still really strong. And the fact that we've got almost 100 people who are willing to sit through what might arguably be the least fun part of an IASSIST conference and do this virtually shows that there are a lot of people who are really dedicated to this organization. And the fact that, as you're going to hear, we're expanding our offerings to other parts of the world with a workshop in Africa, the success of our fellows program and our sponsorship and outreach work shows that we still have a lot to offer to the data world and to each other. And so it really, really makes me happy that all of you people are willing to sit and listen to me and others in IASSIST talk at you through yet another small box on your screen, which has become our reality. So thank you very much. And now I am done. And that means we get to turn it over to the money guy. So Tom Lindsay, please take it away. I am going to be I am going to be running the slides as much as I can to avoid the painful handoff that is the screen sharing swapping. And so you'll have to have that annoying next slide, please. So sorry about that.
All right. Thank you, San. So I think, you all probably have gotten pretty familiar to hearing me talk about this. I've been doing it for 7 years now. Just to put in a plug, as San was saying, we have an election next year, so that will be the end of my, whoa, you're getting ahead of yourself there. So anyway, yeah, treasurers, we love our pie. So you can see, we'll just go ahead and skip over that beautiful chart, and we'll just go to the next slide. So this was 2019. The interesting thing about 2019 is that we had planned to be running a huge deficit last year. And if you do your math there really quickly, you can see that we in fact don't have a deficit from last year. In fact, we even have a little bit of an increase. That's not quite true. I mean, we did as an association actually spend substantially more than the things we were planning on for 2019, but it does in fact for tax purposes come out looking like this, and that's because of two things closely related. The one is that the money from the 2018 conference in Toronto in Montreal actually came onto our books in 2019, and so that rather substantial chunk of money appears on the 2019 books instead of the 2018 books. And then the other thing is that we had some tax things with Canada that at the moment we're holding some money that we think is going to the Canadian government eventually, which made the conference income look even larger than it was. But nevertheless, this is where we're at the end of the year. You can see that our biggest expenditure last year was the Fellows Program, and that after that was sponsorship. That's of other events. And so anyway, the Fellows Program run by Florio, sponsorships, that's going to be Jen. And then administrative expenses, this is things like the software for our website, for managing our databases, all that kind of stuff. That's, I think, sort of it for last year's budget. So why don't you go forward a screen there. So this is where we get to participate in a wonderful act of fiction. I bet most of you didn't know that treasurers get to write fiction, but we do. Every November, I do a little fictional process that's called writing our budget for the next year. And this year it was especially fictional because, boom, there we are. So, this is a pie chart. We all have our pie charts. This is our pie chart for 2020. But go ahead and go to the next slide. So this is the budget that we approved. We approved a budget for 2020 that saw no income and no loss from the conference. It saw basically all of our income coming from the dues themselves. And then we saw a return of sponsorship and fellows to their normal levels, which as a normal matter, our budgeting for those is $10,000 for sponsorship, $8,500 for fellows, which then, because those were smaller levels than last year, meant that infrastructure, marketing, archival, all those other things look like larger percentages. But so given the conference, we know that this budget isn't what it's going to look like. The interesting thing is, I think for the association, what it really means is that we're actually going to end up with a surplus this year, which is good, because if there are expenses next year associated with the conference that result in it being a deficit, then any surplus this year can be carried forward for that. Sponsorships, we did have to put most of them on hold because the events that they were sponsoring weren't happening, or because we weren't sure about our own organizational health at the time that those were coming in. And of course, fellows, we don't expect to be spending a lot of money on, although we do have some possibilities there. So I think that's it for the budget. Do you want to go ahead, Sam? This is what our balances look like. I think one thing that's worth noting is that you'll notice a little purple cap on the top of that 2019 chart, bar. We do actually have a Euro account now. It was established during the year. It's currently in the UK. It's one of the reasons why we need a European treasurer. But anyway, you can see that Canada is where most of our money is currently at. That's because of the Montreal conference. The Canadians can't not make money on a conference. That seems to be the lesson. We have smaller and smaller amounts of money in the pound. That's partially because the pound has reduced in value, but it's also because we've spent out of it and not put more money in. But that's where you look. You can see we've got healthy balances. They haven't shrunk in recent years. You want to go forward. I think the last thing to note is that we do, because of the way that our money is across areas, we are sensitive to conversion rates. And you'll notice that the chart prior had some ups and downs that weren't entirely because of our spending. It's because we report all of our money in US dollars. So it's worth keeping in mind whenever you look at our budget that it might look like we've lost money or gained money in ways that we haven't really, because we report everything in dollars, even though the money is actually in the pound, Canadian dollar, or now the euro. And my chart is not showing the dot of where the euro currently is, but next year there will be a line there. So I think that's really all I wanted to say as treasurer. Again, next year is the end. The treasurer position is going to be up for election next year. I'm not upset about that, but I have enjoyed being the treasurer. So I think we have some plans for making sure that that's an orderly and smooth transition. Any questions?
Any questions for Tom in the chat window? All right, I'm seeing none. You can continue to do that, and if and he can answer them as they pop up, because everybody does have access to the chat window. All right, next item on the agenda, elections. And elections are run by past presidents, and so therefore, Thomas, you are up. We'll need to make sure, here we go.
Yes, so probably better if I unmute myself. So welcome to Finland for a while. I missed Finland, as you can see. And yes, next year or the next membership year, it's going to be elections, but they happen in 2021. So let's call them 2021 elections. There will be a call put out in early autumn by the elections committee, but already now, when you're interested in becoming part of the IASSIST administrative committee, please contact me. You'll find my email and a number of spots on our website. I need to be reducing the number of IASSIST hats in the future, but at the moment, at least, it can't be difficult to find my contact details. Okay, so the General Assembly will take place in April during the conference next year. That means that the election timelines is about 1 month ahead of the usual schedule, but still happening after the new year, and the election, the voting begins early March probably, and it happens as an online ballot as previously. And I want to take this opportunity to remind you that now when you are already emailing me, just remember that self-nomination, that's the best way to sort of move your course ahead. It might take a little time before others realize that it's exactly you who should be running. So you might skip that phase and do it yourself. Remember, when you do that, you should have your membership dues paid for the year of the election. And if you're going to vote these great candidates, you should also have your dues paid by the time that we compile the voting register. To remind you, these seats are up for election. As every election, president, vice president are up, and also regional treasurers, because those are the seats with the 2-year term. Tom has mentioned a number of times that treasurer's term is up, and that commitment is for 4 years. And in addition, our members are large. There are 1 seat in Canada, 1 in Europe, and 3 in US. Do you have more slides? No. That was
you get to where you get to where your communications hat.
Yeah. Do I just jump there, or are there any election-related questions in the chat? Or
there is a question about whether or not officers are required to attend the conference in person.
Virtual conferences, yes, obviously. You've had a great lot of practice on attending that. No, we can't afford, request that. It is obviously great to see you in every conference, but no, we understand that's not always possible to do. What we do expect, of course, is that there are monthly admin committee meetings throughout the year. So if you plan on not coming to the actual conference meeting and missing all the about 10 opportunities during the year, then you might want to wait until you have a little more availability, because we do want to see and hear you during the year.
Yep, I think the biggest point that Bob Ray has made is the fact that while it's true that there isn't a requirement for an individual attendee, it would be really problematic if none of the officers could attend a conference, because there are things that have to happen there. So that would be something to consider. So we
haven't had serious issues with that, and obviously. Like once or twice we have had virtual attendees on a sort of a face-to-face meeting as well.
Yep. Other questions on elections? There was a question on the EU treasurer. Does the person need to be stationed in the UK since the account is there?
No, the account might change to another country anyway. So that's kind of work in the process as well, whether we keep it in the UK or not. The Brexit thing and all that. So no, that's not a necessity.
Yep. Any other questions on elections or leftover stuff for the treasurer? All right, now you get to put on your other hat, Thomas, and talk about communication stuff, because everybody needs to have the fanfare around all of the things that we do to keep in touch.
That's good. Okay, beautiful first slide. This is the Communications Committee report, so it has a few more slides, and I'm not going to go into every detail here, but IASSIST, well, first of all, we have a number of committees, and Communications Committee is one of those. And on the slide, you can see what we should be doing. So IASSIST Quarterly is part of the Communications Committee. Then there's the Public and Private Communications discussion list, and social networking, social networking spaces, and the presence there. And careful consideration says, yes, we do all those three things. And I just, 10 minutes ago, got an email from IQ editor Karsten Boye Rasmussen, who says that unfortunately he can't attend the meeting today. But in case people have been wondering why there has been only 3 IQ issues during this membership year, the reason is there that the number 44.1 didn't come out in March 2020 because there will be a double issue in June. And that concludes Karsten's IQ report. Yep, so that's been an ongoing activity as well. But the main activity during the year has been renewing the website. So we started in Sydney last year. The website task force being Jack Painter, Harrison Decker, Abe Israel, and myself. We've been working throughout the year to get what was fairly old website to a very modern, responsive, colorful design that should have all the basic content available. The work is not done yet. We will be tweaking things here and there and build different update workflows and everything. And here you can see the website coming up. What I'm really happy is that we were able to use modern static website generation technologies and make them work. So it's a sort of a, well, I'm happy with it. That's the bottom line, basically. I'm happy that we got it done, and happy that it looks good, and I'm happy that the feedback that I've seen so far has been mostly favorable. I do hope that everyone just go in and dig in and find those little glitches that we haven't yet, because that's probably the best way to think about, gee, I like this website, but I would like to see something else there, which also means that there will be and there are opportunities to join the web team and do things for the website as well. At the moment, most crucially, we're looking for someone to take on the jobs repository maintenance, meaning screening job postings on IASSIST list and archiving them on our jobs repository on the website. Okay, okay, there's the timeline. That's the fine print there is for you to look into later. You can find and you can sort of picture our journey through the year when we first got sort of basic blocks in place and did a little hackathon thing, and we're quite happy. Left things sitting there for a while, then heard that the current or the previous web host is going to shut down its services. So we actually got a deadline, which is usually the great thing, and that and other things motivated us to pull it through. And obviously, in January, we experienced the exciting crisis times, and note this was already before COVID time when we realized that some of the selections we've done were not going to work. So eventually, that was adventurous and busy year to get where we are at the moment. Okay, this slide tells that one of the sort of biggest changes if you think of the content of the website is that if your conference presentations used to live on IASSISTdata.org, they don't do that anymore. We have moved them to Zenodo. And the benefits there are that they get more visibility, obviously. They're better searchable, more metadata gets posted there. And they, of course, get the DOI, and people can use that DOI to put it into their CRIS reports and wherever. All that was done automatically, so we didn't take them into the Zenodo repository one by one. And one of the things we are going to look into in the near future is how to sort of automate that process regarding future conferences.
All right, I think that's your last one. Excellent. Questions on any of the communications topics, the IQ, the website, the jobs repository, position? Give a good 30 seconds for people to frantically type or fumble to unmute themselves.
Yeah, and I definitely enjoy that. As a Finn, someone saw me being excited about something.
Looking at the chat window, are we?
Yes.
All right. Excellent. In that case, we're going to spend a few minutes getting some updates from our various regions, and hopefully Winnie is ready to rock and roll.
Yes, I'm ready.
All right.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for this opportunity. I'll be sharing with you our regional report for 2019. I'll share with you the IASSIST-sponsored events and then also other data-related activities that have taken place during 2019. As you're all aware, through the membership committee's event sponsorship program, IASSIST has been able to sponsor a number of events in Africa, and these include, the first was the pre-conference data literacy workshop, and this was held in collaboration with the Association of Parliamentary Libraries in South and Eastern Uganda, Africa. And the workshop basically aimed at helping the librarians acquire some basic data literacy skills in order to produce statistics that they can use for their reporting and also their evidence-based planning. The second event was the workshop that we held, which looked at integrating data literacy into the library and information science curriculum at Makerere University. And this basically looked at how the different academia are able to integrate data literacy in the LIS curriculum, which currently we don't have in our universities. Then the third one was a workshop, a conference, which was held in Nigeria. And this conference was partly sponsored by IASSIST and focused on digital preservation. It was conducted by the Nigerian Library Association, Preservation and Conservation Section, and one of our fellows participated in that conference. And then the other one is the data workshop, which we held in Uganda as well. This one also brought together the different librarians from different institutions, and it was basically focusing on how they're able to collect data or meaningful results by telling stories relating to the SDGs, which we are currently focusing on at the moment. Then those were some of the IASSIST-sponsored workshops. And then across the other regions, there was a summer school on machine learning and data science. And this was conducted in Ethiopia and also in Ghana. And I targeted graduate students, researchers, and professionals who are working with huge amounts of data, all different unique data sets. And then the other was the African Open Science Platform School of Research Data Science workshop as well. And this also was held in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and it was in collaboration with the Kodata RDA Data Schools Initiative. And it was basically to train the researchers in research data science. Then the other workshop was the National Data Workshop, which was held in Pretoria, South Africa. And it aimed at the academia, research community, and then the participants who shared knowledge and experience in data-intensive research, as well as research data management related topics. Those are some of the activities that I was able to capture, but next year we want to welcome you to our first IASSIST African workshop, IASSIST Africa Regional Workshop, which is going to be held on 11th to 13th January in Kampala. we hope that you'll be able to participate and also come and visit Africa and Uganda if you've not been there before. Thank you very much.
Questions for Winnie? I have to say, this is kudos to our regional secretary for Africa, because the whole notion of a regional workshop was born out of work that she did with colleagues in East Africa to make IASSIST to really have a much stronger presence in an area where we have not traditionally had the kind of foothold that seems like it might be necessary now, given all of the data activities that are going on. So congratulations to folks who participated and helped Winnie with that.
Thank you.
All right, I don't know that we have, let's see, I think that we do not have anybody from Asia Pacific. I don't think Sam decided to stay up till 2 in the morning. I did not get a response, so. All right, in that case, we can move along to our European report, which I believe Thomas is going to give on behalf of Anna and Sophie.
Okay, my phone's ringing obviously at the same time, but here we go. Yes, another person who couldn't make it to this meeting, but has sent a brief report slide there. The European Registry Anne-Sophie Fink-Jalkard from Denmark. Boiled it down to four bullet points, what's important in the European region. So there's still a lot of spin off the implementation of the GDPR, the data protection regulation. And as she mentioned, we are told that it should benefit the research, and especially cross-border research. But I guess the general sentiment at the moment is that it's still to be seen where is the balance between benefits and different obstacles that this creates, especially for SSH disciplines where personal data is very, very topical. So on to the next buzzword, that is fair, and I think that's probably fair to say that it's happening in other parts of the world as well. Plenty of initiatives going on, making data and services and code and software and you name it fair. And there are also people adding additional letters to this acronym already to make it even better. The acronym everyone dreads or dreams about at the moment is the IASSIST, European Open Science Cloud, the EU dream for research data sharing, the IASSIST marketplace, which gathers services that are available for researchers and data support people around EU. That's shaping to become something more permanent in the beginning of next year, when it should change from a project to a research infrastructure in the cloud. If there has ever been something difficult to explain to a researcher, that probably is European Open Science Cloud. So you're welcome to Google it and figure out. And finally, says that the research infrastructure for social sciences keeps growing continuously, and there are new countries and national service providers joining, and Northern Macedonia is among those new ones, completes and Sophie. So I could take some questions if there are any questions. I don't know whether I have answers and if they align with Anne-Sophie's possible replies.
All right, great. Well, I have to apologize to Carol because I forgot to put in a placeholder slide with a big maple leaf on it, but I think we are going to go to Canada next. So if you could let us know what's going on in the Great White North.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm only going to highlight one major feature. I've done an abbreviated report which has been tabled, so people can take a look at it at their leisure. But we did want to announce that the Canadian government this year committed over $570 million over 5 years for the development of a national digital research infrastructure strategy. And as part of this initiative, a new national not-for-profit organization has been created to bring this strategy into being, and it will be an umbrella organization that will take under its wing things like Portage, but you can read more about it in the report. Thanks.
Excellent, thank you. All right, and now then we move a little farther south and we go to Stephanie, who's going to talk about what's going on in the United States.
Hello. All right, so we can move forward on this slide. Okay, so starting with the good news, I just want to say congratulations to our U.S. members who have won awards this year. So Jeremy Darrington with the Marta Lang Sage CQ Press Award from ACRL. Rhonda Cow won the Flanagan Award from ICPSR. And Zach Painter has really had a banner year this year. So he won the George Mandel Memorial Award from SLA. And he also yesterday became the second most famous IASSISter behind Bob Ray. So congrats to everybody. And if there's anybody who I missed on this who won an award, send me a message so I can get you added to the official report. I'll just go quickly through these because they are all included in the write-up, but obviously the global pandemic has affected how and where most of our U.S. members are working, with universities and businesses closed to essential staff only. We do see an increased demand for data and tools and expertise, so we are ever more important, and we do see that there is a real focus on real-time information, and whether that's getting access to traditional sources of that, like our Bloomberg and Icon terminals, but remotely, or getting access to new government sources like the Census Flash panel, or the Census Flash surveys, and the data coming out of Johns Hopkins and University of Washington. We're seeing a lot of new resources become available, but both from academic, government, and business sources. The 2020 decennial census is underway. It's our once-a-decade count of all people in the United States. The controversial citizenship question is out, didn't make it, fortunately, and we do know that differential privacy plans are still in the mix for the census, so that could have an impact on some of the data that we're able to see at the smaller geographies. AEA released their big data and code availability policy after our conference last year, July 10th, 2019. It's really setting the standard for new citation and deposit requirements, and they've relied on one of our big affiliated organizations, ICPSR, to set up an open ICPSR repository to support compliance for that. So that's really exciting to see. And finally, we're seeing a proliferation of new anonymized data sources. As you see, supply and demand for information about consumer behavior popping up, and you see data that's available both from what we believe to be above board and maybe not so above board, more ethically questionable sources, like the Jumpstart data that was discussed on the listserv this year. We have a really important role as IASSIST members in not just helping our users and researchers find those sources, but also be aware of the ethical, legal, reputational issues around using those. So that's it for me. Are there any questions? All right.
All right. Now, Stephanie got to go last because she gets to put on her other hat, which is part of the program committee. So she's going to give us an update on what's going on for that.
Yeah, so thanks for letting me give an update. The big word is that we didn't cancel the conference, we postponed it. It was truly so exciting to see the submissions and the kinds of presentations that we were going to be in store for in Gothenburg this year. So we wanted to hold on to as much of that as we could and make sure that we had an opportunity to see that. And so we're shifting that over to 2021. So basically the breakdown between what's changing and what stays the same is the date is obviously changed. So now we'll be meeting April 7th through the 9th in 2021. The website for the conference has already changed. Our local arrangements committee is really on top of it. So you can find us at IASSIST2021.org. So that's what's changing. Things that are staying the same. So we will be in Gothenburg, hopefully April next year. Our theme has stayed the same. Our tracks have stayed the same. Our accepted presentations, papers, lightning talks, posters, workshops, those are staying the same. So if you were accepted in 2020, those are rolling over to 2021. It will be the best IASSIST ever. We may even benefit from distance making the heart grow fonder and everybody being super excited to get together in 2021. So that's just a fact. And also, SAN will definitely require dancing at the banquet. That's just a given.
Just saying.
So here's what our plan is. Like I said, if you were accepted in 2020, that acceptance is rolling over to 2021. We will allow people to update their abstracts if things have changed, but we do request that no topic changes be made. What we're going to do is in fall 2021, we're going to email presenters and poster presenters, lightning talks, everybody, and confirm that you are willing and able to participate and retain your spot in April 2021. And once we get those counts, we will look and see if there are spots that become open. And if there are, we'll send out a call for proposals in November 2020. We expect that to be smaller because, like I said, we're rolling over the acceptances from 2020. But should there be openings, we will send out that call. And then the acceptances and rejection notices will go out in January 2021. So I just wanted to reiterate on behalf of the program committee and all of the people in IASSIST who are working to get more webinars and materials out in front of you between now and April, that you won't be removed from the schedule if you decide to submit to your paper to IQ Now. You won't be removed from the schedule if you take your presentation and do it as a webinar for IASSIST. If you have any questions, please let us know. You can email us at the program list that Stephanie LeBou posted in the chat. So I can answer questions here. And then if we have a lot of questions, we should probably follow up with everybody over email, and I can take the questions and then send it to the discussion list too.
There is a great deal of chatter in the chat window, Stephanie, that I encourage you to take a look at. I think the number one thing to say out loud so that everybody is aware of it is the whole concept of remote participation. I know this is something that we talked at great length about for trying to do it this year. We have not yet, to my knowledge, had the conversation about what that looks like for next year. But I'm sure that that's going to be one of the things, not to put you on the spot, Stephanie, but for one of the things to have the program committee to have a conversation with when they do the outreach in 2020 to get an idea for what kind of demand there might be for that. I can tell you that in the months preceding May, I don't know how many cold calls I got from vendors who desperately wanted to help me figure out how to do my conference virtually and this, that, and the next thing. And so the big conversation is going to be for the administrative committee, the program committee, and local arrangements to understand what that actually looks like and what does it mean for there to be an occasional presenter who may have, as is mentioned in the chat, health concerns, as opposed to other people who have other restrictions, if there's a large number of people, if there's still budget constraints or travel restrictions in place. So we'll have to take a look. That is one of the things that is still TBD. Other questions? All right, now this is the part that is not, heaven only knows whether this is going to work, but we're going to give this a try, and I'm going to ask anybody who wants to participate and be part of the virtual business meeting group photo to turn your cameras on, and I will do my best to do a multitude of screen captures. I'm trying to see how many. I think I can get us up to 49 on one screen at a time, so we'll see how that works, and I'm excited to see all you people. This is so awesome. All right, so let's try this. We'll do the first set like this. Da, 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 da. I'll do it again just to be safe. All right. All right, smiling faces. Anybody else want to join? I got about 50 folks. This is so exciting. Let me see, let me forward it. Oh, there we go, there's more people. Wait, don't go anywhere yet. All right. Excellent. This is super. And this is all being recorded, and so if I have to, I will go through and scrape things out of the MP4, but that's a technology level that I may not be well suited for. So
can we request that we only include images where we have our eyes open, obviously?
Yeah, I'll let you work on that. All right, great. This is super. I'm going to take one more, and there we go. All right, now then I'm going to turn it for the last few minutes to our fine secretary, Linda Kellum, who is going to run us through a little bit of IASSIST trivia game.
All right, sorry, let me unmute from this. So I'm going to, this is an experiment. We're going to do a little Kahoot. You should stick around even if you don't want to play. Those of you who are familiar with this, what you need to do is open a browser, either on your mobile or on your computer, wherever you want to. Go to www.kahoot.it, and then you're going to be asked to enter a game pin, and this is the pin. It's 8491182. And I will tell you that the category is IASSIST in the past 12 or so years, because it's the only thing I could remember. So, and I don't have memory of IASSIST beyond that. So, yay! All right, we got some players. And this music is really annoying, but I'm gonna see if it'll play just because it's funny, annoying. Oh, it's not even gonna play. Oh, there it goes. Can y'all hear that, or am I just hearing?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. And the best part of this, there are no prizes at all. They're just, moments of happiness because you win. Oh man, somebody's being real mean to Data Jeff there. That's harsh, dude. All right, Hometown Gal. I like these names that y'all came up with. There's definitely some Zoom bombers in here, I think. I'm not sure who these people are. All right, you get one more second to come in. 45 players. All right, yeah, I think I only have 50 spaces, so that's good. Oh, we're getting up to the top. All right. Y'all ready?
Yep.
Let's start. IASSIST 2020 trivia. 3, 2, 1. So we're gonna have a quiz. What does IASSIST stand for? So on your device, you should see options. Choose the option that is.
I see you've got the dancing spirit, Linda. You're ready.
It's time, so you gotta choose one. This should be easy. This is the easiest one, probably. All right, yeah, so the right answer is, of course, International Association for Social Science, Information Services, and Technology. Oh, got an S in there. Or I have no idea. That's legit. Although why would you be here unless you're a Zoom bomber? So next we have, good job, yay. I don't have an applause button. Next, who got? Bob Downs was the quickest. Woohoo, Bob Downs. All right, next. What was the name of the brewery at the Toronto reception in 2014? This music is weird. Wow. Turn that down. It's like Mission Impossible. Steam whistle, steamboat, steam press, steampunk. Wow, some of you have good memories. All right, the name of the brewery was Steam Whistle. Eight of you chose steampunk. That's awesome. I would have liked that brewery better, probably. All right, going next. Who got it quickest? Kim S. Woo! The Toronto gal. Got it. Oh, right? I think that's right. Kim. So we have a new person on top. Jeff is really freaking me out. All right, next. Where has IASSIST not been held? Madison, Wisconsin, Amsterdam, Raleigh, North Carolina, Ann Arbor, Michigan. One of these places has not held an IASSIST. Which is it? Yes! So all of those other places, Madison, Ann Arbor, Amsterdam, have had an IASSIST, but Raleigh has not. Raleigh. Raleigh needs to get with the program. Kim S, she's still on top. Yeah! I think Ryan is Ryan Womack, I guess. So yay. And then Ryan C. Okay. And which IASSIST was the banquet held on?
Right. Ryan C.
Was that?
Ryan Clement, maybe? That's my
maybe, yeah.
Ryan C.
So which IASSIST was that banquet held on a boat? It was held on a boat. Woohoo! Yeah, Kansas, I don't know what boat you were on, but yes, there's the idea that banquets are always held on boats, but it is not actually true. We could not think of that many that were banquets that were held on boats. Sydney, though, was definitely held on a boat. A very nice boat. All right, who we got there? Ryan's winning. I think Jen Doe, that's Jen, I don't know who that is. Jen Dara? Shouldn't let you do the.
Oh, Jen Doty.
Doty! All right, awesome. Which IASSIST was held in a monastery with lots of beer and no internet? Yes, Cologne, Germany. They kept us placated with beer because we could not access the internet at all. It was awesome, but we were still very happy. So next, who got that one? Jen, Doty. All right, next. Which person has been a keynote speaker? Oh, sorry. Yes, has been a keynote speaker at IASSIST of these four. That was a little hard because some of you may not recognize our president. You have not been a keynote speaker, right, Sam? No, because she's not been. Ingo and Thomas has not been keynote
But thank you for thinking I'm worthy.
Yes, yeah, she's very worthy. Roberto Roca was a digital journalist who spoke in Montreal, and he was one of my favorite keynote speakers ever. So I talk about him a lot. So yes, it was Roberto Roca in Montreal. Who got that one? Mystery man. Getting up there. Ron's getting up there too. All right, we only have two more. Do not leave because we got to adjourn this thing. So we got to have some people to do that. In which year was IASSIST held at Stanford U? Yes, 2008. 2010 was Ithaca, where I am now. Who knew I would come here? So yes, 2008 was when we held it in Stanford. That was also the first IASSIST I personally attended, but and some people's Ron knew that one. Yay! Okay. And then, which person has never been president of IASSIST? For the newer members, this might be a little bit hard, sorry. But you get to know names through this. You can also cheat and look it up. Yay, Lawrence Harton. Yeah, so Bill Block, Melanie Wright, and Ernie Boyko have all been presidents. I think that's the actual, besides Tomas, the past presidents. Lawrence Horton has yet to be president. So guess who's up for president someday? Lawrence Horton. All right, and one more, the final question. How many followers does IASSIST have on Twitter? And so, yeah, we have 1,889 followers. So some of you are just counting how many followers you have. So if you are not a follower, please follow us on Twitter so that we can have more. If we can hit 2,000 followers on Twitter, that would be amazing. Thank you very much. The winners are, I forgot to show you this.
Who won, Linda?
SG. Who is SG? I have no idea. So we have the winners are.
Oh, it's Samantha Gus.
Samantha Gus. Winners are Samantha Gus, winner, then Mystery Man, then San, and then runners up were Ron and Ryan. So yay, Sam! Right. Thank you for playing.
That was a lot of fun. We appreciated that. I appreciated that. If nobody else did, so let's do this final thing. And we are done. So thank you all. I need a motion to adjourn. Kristen has moved. Okay, and we got a second. And I want to say thank you so much to everybody for attending and being part of this great community. And please stay safe and healthy because we need to make sure that everybody is well and able to travel to Sweden next year for obviously the best IASSIST ever. So take care. See you all on the list and stay safe and happy.